Jeffrey Epstein's regular visits to Disney parks with his friends and the emergence of photos of them with young children on their laps raise questions.
I can tell you that the number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. That's the biggest problem for children in this industry. It's the big secret.
Walt Disney was recruited by the FBI in 1940 to spy on his own employees and produce propaganda films for the military and its support during World War II.
Thank you to Satan for giving me inspiration on how to play this role.
They took out parts of him and the blood started flowing. And they were chanting.
Whether on a cell phone, tablet or in front of the TV on the sofa, whether on a plane, train or bus, films and series from the Hollywood film industry are watched everywhere and at all times. Even if classic Hollywood will be changed by AI, it is very important to know by whom and with what goal this industry was built. And with that, I would like to welcome you to KlarTV. Hollywood is a district of Los Angeles in the United States, and it is known worldwide as the center of the film industry. The American journalist Elmer Davis described Hollywood in his day with the following words. The easiest way to put the propaganda idea into the minds of most people is to convey it through entertainment films, because then they don't realize they are being manipulated. Propaganda means a targeted attempt to influence people's opinions. This can involve political, religious or ideological topics. The aim is to get people to behave in accordance with a particular group or leadership. In this broadcast, we show you in which areas of our lives this manipulation of consciousness has gained a foothold and how it works. Especially in times of geopolitical tensions, the military and secret services use films from Hollywood to reinforce old and new bogeymen. The danger of a third world war is currently dramatic and real.
The Pentagon, the Secret Services and the film industry have been working hard for some time to revive old boogeymen and create new ones such as Russia and Iran. The following films, for example, support the desired narrative. Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, Red Sparrow, Hunter Killer or Argo, to name just a few. These 4 films deal thematically with secret services, military or geopolitical conflicts with Russia and Iran as central opponents. Hollywood sells us heroes, but there is often more behind spectacular action scenes than mere entertainment. Films such as Top Gun or American Sniper and many others portray American soldiers almost consistently as brave saviors, as the good guys. The US military is portrayed as a savior in major threats. The other side, on the other hand, is described as one-dimensional, brutal, fanatical, or morally corrupt. This simplified, clear confrontation creates emotional images of the enemy. This creates a one-sided, largely uniform opinion and a society that is in favor of war without knowing the facts.
Hollywood and the Pentagon.
According to historical reports, the Pentagon established the Entertainment Liaison Office as early as 1948, operating directly out of Los Angeles to oversee Hollywood productions and support them with military resources. Officially, however, the period of cooperation goes back to the time of the First World War. The American war propaganda film Wings was produced in 1927 and won the first Oscar.
Hollywood and the Secret Services.
The cooperation between Hollywood and the CIA also goes back to the time shortly after its founding in 1947. According to reports, the two sides have been working together since the 1950s. Tricia Jenkins, a professor of film, television, and digital media, and the author of the book The CIA in Hollywood: How the Agency Shapes Film and Television, says that the intelligence agency cooperated primarily with Hollywood to influence foreign viewers. In the 1990s, the agency officially set up an office for entertainment media. This was intended to better coordinate cooperation with film and TV productions and, probably in the first place, make the portrayal of the CIA in Hollywood appear more realistic and authentic. Through their institutions, the CIA and the Pentagon exercise direct editorial control over film and television productions.
Close ties to the military and the secret services have also been proven with important founders of Hollywood film companies, such as Walt Disney. Walt Disney was recruited by the FBI in 1940 to spy on his own employees and produce propaganda films for the military and its support during World War II. The film Winning Your Wings, which was shown in cinemas in May 1942 and was also shown in high schools, shows just how powerful an advertising tool Hollywood can be. The impact was enormous. Over 150,000 men signed up as recruits as a direct result of the film.
In connection with Top Gun, the United States Navy used movie screenings for recruiting purposes and set up information and recruiting booths to directly address the interest in a military career aroused by the film. The direct sequel to the cult film Top Gun, Maverick from 2022, was created in close collaboration with the US Department of Defense. The film also functions as a recruitment and image film. With an estimated 165 million viewers worldwide, it is one of the most successful films ever and has strong recruitment potential. The Pentagon has not only been involved in Top Gun, but has also influenced more than 2,500 films and series.
Hollywood not only takes on war and the recruitment of volunteers as blood sacrifices, but also the dissolution of traditional family values and gender roles. For about 10 years, the film industry has increasingly focused on the visibility and representation of LGBTQ issues.
Dissolution of families and traditional gender roles.
The organization Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, GLAAD for short, publishes the Studio Responsibility Index every year. This measures how many films contain LGBTQ characters and how they are portrayed, with the aim of creating pressure on the film industry to increase these proportions in films. It's not just about the number of queer roles, but also about the life stories of these people. In an interview, comedian Cat Williams said,
"So 20 years ago, I knew that transgenders was going to be a thing. I had seen that word transgender was Baphomet, the transgender. And so I knew that in the ritual of Baphomet, the transgender, to show allegiance to him, you had to kiss his ass ring."
The fact that Hollywood is devoting so much attention and presence to this topic shows that these developments are no coincidence. As KLA-TV reported in the February 8, 2019 broadcast, Hollywood is said to fight transphobia. The transgender agenda has been pushed in Hollywood for decades and is increasingly becoming a trend.
Yes, dear viewers, in this program we touch on a whole range of topics. Stay tuned with us. Let's move on to the next point of manipulation and mind control together.
Hollywood and the scaremongering about climate and pandemics.
Films such as The Day After Tomorrow or Snowpiercer manipulate with images of extreme weather events and a sudden ice age as a result of climate change. Films such as Outbreak from 1995, Contagion from 2011, The series Utopia from 2013 and the film Songbird from 2020 are stoking fears about pandemics. The similarities to the COVID-19 pandemic are very striking in all the films mentioned and the Utopia series. The film Contagion and the Utopia series were released years before the pandemic, while Songbird was released at the beginning of the pandemic. Many processes, reactions of the authorities, and social effects reflect the reality of the corona period. Controlled emotions are used to subliminally manipulate people into displaying a desired behavior in order to make them easier to control. Hollywood follows the basic principles of propaganda by creating feelings such as fear and anger, and thus overriding rational thinking. The big goal: to put the masses in a state of shock, thereby making them passive and compliant. Let's be clear. Hollywood is not simply the dream factory it is described as. Hollywood is an extremely effective tool for distraction and manipulation. Hollywood leaves nothing to chance in the design of its films. Purposefully chosen representations and conveyed images influence the viewers and direct their consciousness.
A difficult issue that accompanies Hollywood is the serious problem of pedophilia. As Claire TV already reported on January 8, 2017 in the broadcast Hollywood Riddle with Pedophiles.
Hollywood and pedophilia.
A 2014 CNN report had highlighted Disney's corporate pedophilia problem, noting that in the 8 years since 2006, at least 35 Disney World employees had been arrested on suspicion of child sex offenses. At the time of publication, the perpetrators had been convicted in a total of 32 cases, and many other proceedings had not yet been concluded when the article was published. James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, was fired after tweets about rape and pedophilia were uncovered. They were photos of a Hollywood pedophile party at which Gunn and other protagonists posed in tawdry scenes. The tweets, published between 2008 and 2012, are so gruesome that we are only reproducing a few examples here as images. In his statement, James Gunn explained that it was a provocative joke intended to draw attention to the issue, and so the mass media also reported on it like that. Nevertheless, it remains unclear to us how this can be understood as a mere joke, given the manner of communication. You might think that someone who publishes such content belongs in prison. But far from it. In October 2022, James Gunn took over the management of DC Studios. The studio belongs to Warner Bros. Discovery and is responsible for the production and organization of all films and series related to the superheroes of DC Comics. Other US actors affected, such as Corey Feldman, talk about what they had to go through over the years. He and his best friend, fellow child actor Corey Haim, had been abused. Quote, Corey Feldman,
I can tell you that the number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. That's the biggest problem for children in this industry. It's the big secret.
As recent events surrounding Jeffrey Epstein show, the problem seems to be much bigger and more heinous than one might imagine. Regular visits to Disney parks by Jeffrey Epstein and his friends, as well as photos that have emerged of them with small children on their laps, raise questions. As a result, there is an urgent need to uncover these connections, something the mainstream media has failed to do for decades.
Hidden obscene images. Introduction to early sexualization.
Depictions of genitals, erections, hidden images of naked people, and lettering such as sex in supposedly harmless children's films. What is the point of such content? If you look at it from the point of view of mind control, things become clearer. More effective than the clearly visible is therefore the ostensibly invisible, which subliminally influences consciousness. Although this content was repeatedly removed or censored following criticism, as with any crime, denial is useless if you are caught in the act. The fact that something like this keeps cropping up in many movies and over decades strongly suggests a pattern rather than pure coincidence. The permissive depiction of sex scenes in Hollywood films, which are approved by the FSK from the age of 12 and even as young as 6, is almost part of the program. The neutral viewer may ask, why ever would someone do such a thing? AfD MP Nicole Höchst: if you use sex as a weapon against a child, you destroy the child's life. You control this child, it becomes like a walking zombie. At 18 or 19, this person will not fight for individual freedom, for justice for all, not for the family, not for the basic law. When a human being is sexually abused, it behaves like a turtle. It pulls its head into its shell. Abused people go into survival mode.
Dear viewers, let us now get to the heart of the matter. Because to solve a problem permanently and not just combat the symptoms, you have to get to the root of the problem.
Occult elements. Introduction to Satanism.
Shortly after its release in Germany, the frighteningly brutal horror film Tanz der Teufel Devil's Dance was described as trivializing violence by the Munich District Court on February 27, 1985, and confiscated. At the time, the FSK wanted to release the film in a slightly edited form from the age of 18, but even this was not approved by the Munich District and Regional Court. In 1993, the film was linked to the Sondershausen murder case. According to the Mühlhausen Regional Court, the perpetrators' inhibitions were lowered by their constant preoccupation with satanic ideas and depictions of killing in films, making such an act possible. Note also the subtle portrayals in Disney films. Magic, witchcraft, and the occult are presented to children's eyes and ears in a harmless way and specially prepared for children. Many films and fairy tales use symbolic or occult elements. Maleficent shows curses and dark forces, and Coco visualizes the land of the dead as a cultural mythical motive. Encanto presents a magical family with symbolic occult powers. These are just a few examples of a subtle introduction to an occult demonic world tailored to children. Films like Rosemary's Baby or Eyes Wide Shut openly portray the satanic cult. The excesses of this cult end in bloody rituals and human sacrifices, as Lois Sussex has shown in her documentary series The Blood Cult.
From a neuropsychological point of view, children are much more susceptible to manipulation, attempts at persuasion or one-sided information, because their critical thinking is still poorly developed. The prefrontal cortex responsible for this is still immature. This has direct relevance to how susceptible children can be to manipulation, attempts at persuasion or one-sided information. The emotional center, on the other hand, is already highly active. Children react strongly to emotional stimuli, but are not yet able to reflect rationally enough on whether a situation is real or fictitious. Bad side effects of seemingly harmless Hollywood movies on children are therefore not uncommon. Nightmares, separation anxiety, fear of monsters, disasters or persecution.
Hollywood and the connection to Freemasonry, the occult, and satanic blood rituals.
In an interview with TV presenter Tucker Carlson, US journalist, author, and evangelical pastor Lee Strobel talks about how strongly and in what direction people are influenced by mass entertainment. Hollywood makes films and series that influence us unconsciously. Hollywood and the mass media normalize evil, making us more open to the occult or loosen moral boundaries. In this way, they trivialize Satan and the demonic realm. They are working to change society while most people don't even realize it. Lee Strobel describes the problem as follows, quote,
"We ought to be heads up about it, because the two biggest mistakes we can make about the demonic realm, number one, is to deny that they exist."
British-American actor Christian Bale thanks Satan in a speech of thanks during the 2019 Golden Globe Awards. He said verbatim,
Thank you to Satan for giving me inspiration on how to play this role.
John Paul Rice, film producer and actor, speaks openly about satanic rituals.
Is we found a network of pedophiles among a global network of people who were selling kids back and forth to each other, trading them like candy. It goes right in through Hollywood. If you look at, and there is a very satanic element to it.
Hollywood actress Roseanne Barr told Tucker Carlson that occult satanic elites eat babies and love blood.
You know they eat babies. That is not bullshit. It's true.
So it's not just the dogs and the cats, not just the pets.
It's not just the dogs and the cats. They're full-on vampires. And everybody still thinks I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy. They're full-on vampires. They love the taste of human flesh and they drink human blood. They do, Tucker. Stop staring at me like that.
You're freaking me out, man. Because you spent your life in the entertainment business, so I think you have some authority on this.
So many kids that I was in mental institutions with over the years, they are all from those cults. And they've covered it all up. They covered it all up. And, you know, I just pray to God. I'm just going to pray to God that He opens everybody's eyes in this country.
Various actors provide insights into occult practices in the Hollywood industry. Hollywood stars who are or have been exposed to the system are breaking down and leaking inside information that reveals the true inner workings of Hollywood and the entertainment industry, as KLA TV has previously shown in the documentary series Blood Cult and the movie Out of Shadows. Former actor Ricky Schroeder, who has starred in films such as Little Lord Fauntleroy, Get Him to the Creek, and the series Scrubs, has spoken openly about occult rituals in Hollywood.
There was a room with a body, I believe it was a male, laying on a table. And people came around the room. It was dimly lit, but they had hoods and robes on. And they had some sort of ritual where they took out a knife and they cut him down the side. It was his right side. And they took out parts of him and the blood started flowing. And they were chanting. And there was women there and they took off their clothes. And then they took the blood and they smeared it on their bodies and started to be sexual with each other. It was quite disturbing to see.
Many other actors such as Megan Fox and others speak openly about rituals and drinking human blood. In her role in the 2009 film Jennifer's Body, she plays an obsessed high school student who seduces, kills and eats boys from her school.
A look at the history of Hollywood's origins provides a comprehensible explanation for these efforts and developments. Almost all of the important founding members who had a decisive influence on the development of Hollywood were high-degree Freemasons, as numerous honorary Clativy contributors have researched. High-degree Freemasonry has its origins deep in Satanism and professes Satan is God, as Ivo Zasek impressively explained at the 22nd AZK. We summarize the research for you here.
namely when 33-degree Freemason Albert Pike gave the following directions to the 23 Supreme Councils of the world. He noted the following. On page 588, Pike then says, quote, "That which we must say to a crowd is, we worship a God without superstition. To you, sovereign Grand Inspectors General, we say this, that you may repeat it to the brethren of the 32nd, 31st, and 30th degrees. The Masonic religion should be, by all of us initiates of the high degrees, maintained in the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. If Lucifer were not God, would Adonai and his priests calumniate him? Yes, Lucifer is God, and unfortunately Adonai is also God. And the true and pure philosophical religion is the belief in Lucifer, the equal of Adonai, but Lucifer, God of light and God of good, is struggling for humanity against Adonai, the God of darkness and evil." End quote. Do you see how it is at the top? Satanism reigns high up there. And now to get to the point, she says, quote, "It is Satan who is the God of our planet and the only God. Period." End quote.
Founding members of Hollywood, almost all high-degree Freemasons. Walt Disney.
Member of the Demolay Masonic Organization in Kansas City since 1920. According to author Fritz Springmeier, Walt Disney was a 32nd degree Freemason. In his book 13 Bloodlines of the Illuminati, he also reveals that Disney moved in satanic circles and established the occult practices common there as the basis of his work. Walt Disney was also the founder of the exclusive Club 33 at Disneyland.
MGM, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer.
Studio boss Louis B. Mayer was a high-degree Freemason. He had been a member of St. Cecil Lodge number 568 in New York City and the Shriners since 1915, an order that at that time only admitted Masons of the 32nd degree and above. Mayer had the idea of founding the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, which has been awarding the Oscars since 1929 and of which he was a founding member. Even at Oscar award ceremonies, the affiliation is not hidden and the Masonic symbol of the compass and square is displayed for all to see. There was close cooperation with Adolf Zucker. Adolf Zucker was a member of the Masonic Lodge Centennial Lodge number 763 and later founded the film studio Paramount Pictures.
Warner Brothers.
According to the LA Conservancy, Harry, Albert, Sam and Jack, the Warner brothers, were members of the Masonic Lodge Mount Olive Lodge number 506 and Lodge 542 in California. Jack Warner was also a member of the 233 Club. There was a cooperation with Carl Laemmle, a Freemason and member of Pacific Lodge number 233 in New York City and the 233 Club in Hollywood. Carl Laemmle was one of the main founders of Universal Pictures and is also known as the founder of Hollywood.
20th Century Fox.
Founder Daryl F. Zanuck was a Freemason and member of Mount Olive Lodge number 506 in Los Angeles, California. He was also given the honor of filming the documentary about the Rothschild family entitled The House of Rothschild. As is well known, the Rothschild family can be found in the Council of Three, Osiris Lodge, that means at the very top of the high-degree Freemasons. The second founder of 20th Century Fox, Joseph Michael Schenck, was also a Freemason. He was a member of Pacific Lodge number 233, New York City.
No matter how the film industry develops, whether Hollywood dies out in its old form and is replaced by AI in the future or comes along in a different way, the masterminds and their agenda to manipulate the masses always remain the same. It clearly shows that it is one single and well-orchestrated conspiracy. Hollywood and the entire film industry was introduced by Freemasons for Freemasons as a strategic tool to manipulate and control the masses in the interests of this self-proclaimed Freemason wannabe elite. To this day, the content produced is subject to regulation by the Pentagon. The likewise Masonic ownership structures of film companies such as BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street also ensure that the course is maintained, which ultimately ends in cruel bloody rituals, human sacrifice in the form of wars, and the degradation and humiliation of human identity. The foremost goal, however, is a society bound in addictions, manipulated, passive and controllable, which is ultimately to accept a new religion under the rule of their god, Satan. Whether hidden or obvious remains to be seen. Many global developments are only possible because all these interrelationships are still viewed separately from one another. If you connect the various dots, it quickly becomes clear what the connections are and who is actually responsible for all this. Take advantage of the absolute world novelty and take a look at the Mason-founded entities already researched and published on Wikipedia.org. If humanity recognizes these connections, this dark game will soon come to an end. Stay well informed and watch independently produced feature films with available content at panorama-film.ch. KlarTV founder Ivo Zasek produced ethically and morally high-quality feature films with volunteer contributors.
Ivo Zasek, the peacemaker with prophetic foresight, who has been selflessly serving humanity since 1977, and for free.